Hey, good morning, folks. Lone Coach Kelly here, coming to you with episode 27 of North Coast Coffee Chats. And got my partner in crime back with me. Let's go.
David West, your solar best.
Yeah, Dave's been on a little hiatus for business, and had to shoot a couple episodes without you, but
sorry.
Gosh, Dave, so glad to have you back. It's getting a little bit sketchy there.
A little bit lonely.
Yeah, a little bit lonely. So here we are, North Coast Coffee Chats. We're a part of North Coast Networking Group. The goal of our podcast is to get to meet our members of the group, learn about their experiences, their entrepreneurship, what brought them into the industry that they're currently representing within our group, and help them grow their business through exposing them in this podcast. And so today on the hot seat, we actually have the man, the myth, the legend of Maxlux Media, Rob.
Here to expose himself, apparently.
Here to expose himself and all the tricks of the trade. So
Secrets.
So now you're not sitting behind the scenes. So, I mean, you're going to be you in the raw here today.
Yeah, it feels a little weird. I have not brought prophylactic, so, be ready to receive.
Right.
Noted.
Well, this is Rob. So we're going to talk about Maxlux Media. We're going to talk about Rob and his journey to get him into this profession. And Rob's been a member of our group for probably a little over a year.
Two years?
Yeah.
2.5.
Well, because Sean was with us, his partner. Mm-hmm. Sean came into the group and was with us for a while, and then Rob took over. And
Sean's been gone. He left for Idaho last September. So it's been a full year of seeing your guys' smiling faces at 7 a.m. every Thursday morning.
And you love it.
It's a little early for me, to be totally honest.
Rob loves the 7 a.m. Yeah.
Coffee.
So over the last year, getting to know Rob, definitely one of the more charismatic members of our group. He's got a very diverse background, and let's dive into that, Rob. Like, first of all, you served our country. Like, that was something totally out of the blue, and then you're now doing what you're doing here. But let's walk through like your career path that got you into running Maxlux Media.
Yeah, and that's it's September too, and we just passed 9/11 a couple of weeks ago. So I've actually been thinking about the time that I spent in the military quite a lot this month. But
sure.
It's come up a lot. But yeah, so I've been around, done a lot of interesting things. I was not a great student in high school. I hadn't planned to go to college. I wanted to be a cool kid and go do cool kid things, and spending a lot of time doing school stuff was not part of that.
Did you get voted to be best body?
I did not win best body, unfortunately.
That would have been pressure washing.
I don't know if I was noted in the yearbook as anything in particular, but it probably would have been like the most likely to sell weed or something. I don't know. After high school, I moved out when I was 17 and 51 weeks or something like that, and I worked at a bunch of different restaurants and stuff, so that was kind of my first career was as a cook, and then later a restaurant manager. I did that for a few years, and then lost a job that I had, and I didn't have any savings, and lost the place that I was living, like all within a month, and so I needed a place to stay for a little bit. So I called up my folks and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about joining the military. Like, come, let me live with you for a little while I'm getting this figured out, and until I go to leave for boot camp or whatever." I never had actually intended to go, but that was my plan until I, found another job, had enough money to go get another place. But they surprised me. And so it was 1998. It was right after Halloween, maybe right before Thanksgiving, and at like 10 o'clock at night, my recruiter calls me and he says, "Hey, I need you to pull out this paperwork and your contract and look in this column, in this row, and tell me what that number is." And I'm like, "Oh, it's like 23. What does that mean?" He says, "It means that you're leaving for boot camp tonight. I need you to pack anything that you need to take with you, and I'm going to pick you up in 2 hours."
Whoa.
And so before I knew it, I was on a plane for Chicago, and then I was in the Navy for 6 years.
Wow.
I did aviation electronics. I spent most of my career working on F-18 radar. I was in electronics, but I liked doing the hands-on stuff. And so I worked on the electromechanical, like the magnets that powered the radar dishes and moved them around and all that kind of stuff. And I did quite enjoy that. And I was in the Navy when 9/11 happened, and all the stuff that led up to that, the coal getting bombed and all that stuff. And boy, that changed the whole country overnight. I mean, things were just went from black to white in a hurry. I still remember, when I got transferred out here, going across the Hoover Dam, and there's guys with 50 cal machine guns and stuff on the Hoover Dam, where, in case terrorists decided they were going to attack it or something. I don't know what those guys would have done against a plane, but whatever, that's where they were. Deployed, so I was stationed in Virginia. 9/11 happened. A month later, they said, great, you're going to San Diego. You're going to go on a carrier out from there and go bomb some guys in Afghanistan. Not what I wanted to do. I had a girlfriend and a house that I liked, and we had a dog and all this stuff out in Virginia. I thought I was going to, stay there. I had 1 year, 12 months left on my contract. And so I drive cross country, get out here. That was fun, but a little nerve-wracking. I get here on a Friday night, and they tell me, hey, the ship has already left, and I thought I had 3 months until the ship was gone. The ship's already left, and we're going to fly you out on Monday, 2 days later.
Holy moly.
I'm like, I only have the stuff in my car. Like, I don't know. I thought I had months to move my stuff out here, get an apartment, figure out what I was going to do with my life. And they said, well, tough shit. You're on a plane. And so that was it. That was it. We landed on the carrier on Monday after the Yankees lost the World Series to some expansion team from Arizona I had never heard of at the time. The Diamondbacks? Who is this? Missed the landing the first time, which was scary as heck, and then we stuck it the second time, and then that was the first time in 3 years that I had been in the Navy that I'd ever seen a ship up close, is when they threw my bag out the back of the plane and said, okay, you live here now. Wow. We went and we were the first carrier on station after 9/11 out in the Arabian Sea, and we spent 9.5 months out there dropping bombs in the desert on $20 tents, $1 million bombs. And it was a real Groundhog Day type situation because the ship had left so early, but no idea when it was going to be over. We were out there over the holidays and everything. It was like my first Christmas at sea, and a lot of suicides and stuff. A lot of people jumping off the back of the ship, just couldn't take it. And
wow.
It was a weird time, man. Very, very strange.
Jeez. So, I mean, rush to the call of duty, rush to the call to the carrier, from being 18 years old to, you said 6 years in, so to 24 years old.
I was about 20 when I came in.
20 when you got in?
I worked
so a couple years in the
restaurants and stuff for a couple of years after high school.
Wow, talk about a culture shock for a young kid to just have your life completely at the whim changed so drastically.
You're institutionalized. Yeah. And then, what we've been talking a lot this week too, is that when you get out, that's just as big a shock, right?
Yeah.
Because you're used to I just wake up in the morning, put my clothes on, make sure I shave, show up, and then somebody tells me what to do all day, every day, basically. And then, I was in long enough that I kind of became management, but still, you go to the production meeting and they tell you this is what you guys are going to be doing today, and then you tell your guys this is what we're doing today. And that's your life, and you work for 12 hours, and then when you're done, that's it. Where do you go? You go back to bed. You don't have any place to go. You're on a ship.
Yeah.
Watch the same movie that you've already seen 60 times on the closed circuit TV. That's it.
What was the movie?
Yeah, this was 2001, so it was probably The Matrix or something.
How do you think that experience prepped you for what you're doing now?
Well, it's really funny that you say that because I hadn't really thought of it because there was a big gap in between getting out and then getting into video production. But I actually had a camcorder that I ordered. Amazon does deliver to Navy ships. It just takes 6 weeks to get out there. Sure. And so at some point I did order. It was a mini DV little camcorder. And we had a lot of guys on the ship that were brought the guitars, and they were musicians and things like that. And you got a lot of time to think and write songs out there, apparently. So I would make little music videos for these guys, just, hanging out in different places around the ship, playing guitar and stuff. And so that was kind of an early, take on what I was doing. But then when I got out, I put that away. I had an Indiana Jones thing going on, so I decided I was going to go to college for archaeology, anthropology. That lasted a couple of years. I found out how much money they make and said, well, wait a minute. I changed my major to business. And while this was going on, I had gotten real heavy into home brewing, right? And so I was started out just like really passionate and hungry to know everything that there was to know. That translated into me becoming president of North County Homebrewers Association, which was the local homebrew club. I didn't mean for that to happen. It just kind of did. I was the guy that everybody was like, hey, I don't understand why my beer's not fermenting or why I have this flavor or whatever. And so I would, I had every beer style book. And, at the time, there wasn't as much information on the internet about this stuff.
Yeah.
So it was, it was good to be a resource for guys. But that eventually led to me deciding that I'm going to drop out of college and open a brewery. So I did. And so there was Aztec Brewing Company in Vista. It still exists today. I sold it in about 2015. But I did that for 5 years. That was amazing, super stressful, very drunk.
Very cloudy.
Yeah,
Very cloudy.
a lot of fun, but like, that was right when I was getting married, and so basically we were building the brewery when I got married, and so like we used to joke that the reason that our marriage was so strong, a few years into it, was that I never see my wife unless she's working for me or it's like Sunday, and we're staring across the couch like, you want to do anything today? No. Our first anniversary, we literally stayed in bed till like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't mean having fun. I mean it was just like, you want to get up and do anything? No. And that's just how it was, because having the brewery was a 7 day a week kind of. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, that too, but you work all the time. My partners ran Sunday, so I had 1 day off. I had a night job working as a supervisor in the UPS hub for 11 years, so that entire time. So it was like I would go to the brewery at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, work with my guys, make sure the beer was happening, do all the stuff that happens in the office, order grain and, pay insurance and, do marketing for our next event and all this stuff as well, on top of brewing and kegging and, testing beer and figuring out new recipes and all that stuff. And there's just so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
And especially a brewery, because it's a very... the stuff I do now is mostly B2B, so it's like we just have to understand this little bit of stuff that we do. But with the brewery, you have to be something to everybody. You have to do a ton of marketing. It's consumer facing, and so it's like we got to come up with new ideas for names and beers and styles and labels, and it just never ends. And it's also a growth industry. So we used to have this joke that like, oh yeah, we need to make more beer so we can make more money, so we can buy more tanks, so we can make more beer, so we can make more money, so we can buy more tanks, so we can make more beer, so we can make more money. So when do I get paid? Right? And and that was the thing with the breweries. It was great. I had a lot of fun. It was something that I would not change about my life if I could go back and change it, but I didn't see a dime until I sold it. Like
what a good life experience though.
It was cool. It was a lot of fun, especially in the beginning when it was just like, it felt like the sky was the limit, and all these people are here for me and the beer that I created and my recipe and my ideas, and there's something very satisfying about that. But
and that was in a very intricate time in the beer industry. I mean, that's when 2010, 12, 13 was kind of like the inception of microbrewing, and it really started to gain popularity at that time.
It's certainly when it took off. We were in the right time. When we opened our brewery in the end of 2010, there was 2 breweries in Vista. There was us and there was Mother Earth Brewing Company. By like 2013 or 14, there was like 11 breweries in Vista. And so that changed things too, right? Because
competition started to get stiff.
And when you're a small little brewery that started out very undercapitalized, started out $200,000 or something, we needed like $1 million. The competition hurts because you don't have this big distribution network built out yet, and you're not like sending a ton of your capacity other places. Your tasting room is like where most of your money comes from.
Yeah.
And so like when we started, man, like Taco Tuesdays, we like ruled that, and then like, oh, hey, they're giving away free tacos on Tuesday. We're going to do that too. And then other people kind of steal your idea, and then suddenly your crowd thins and you're like, what happened? We used to have $2,000 Tuesdays, and today we had like a $400 Tuesday. What gives, And it was just competition. It's easy to be great when you're kind of the only game in town, know. But that led me into my next experience. While we had the brewery, I met this guy named Bert, who was a super genius engineer. He could build just about any machine. He was terrible with sales and marketing though. And so he had built this system called Chillertron, which was a like all-in-one brewery control system built on a computer, and it controlled, your coolant, and it was very smart into data logging and remote alarms, and you could dial your temperature in on your fermentation at like 1/10 of a degree, which was unheard of, right? At the time, it's like, oh, if you get in this 3-degree range, you'll be pretty lucky. And with beer, you need it to be perfect because otherwise it comes out tasting different every time. And that's not what consumers want. They want it to taste the same if it's a beer that they really like, right? And so he offered me a job running sales and marketing for him, as I was in the process of selling the brewery, which I took him up on. And I did that for, I don't know, another 4 years, 5 years. And so that's when I really got to cut my teeth in, I'd been doing marketing for the brewery and stuff, so I knew a little bit about how it worked. But that was when it was just like, okay, this is all your responsibility. This is what you do. I make the thing, you figure out how to sell it. Do your thing. And so at some point in that journey, I was working on the website, and I had hired a friend of mine that did video to create a video for the Chillertron website. And I'm sitting there and I'm now do this. Oh, hey, can we find a cool template to make the logo pop out and do this? And he's, oh yeah, great idea. And he's doing it. And I'm sitting here realizing like we're paying him like 2 to 3 times what I'm getting paid. I could do that, and I think I have ideas. Like that's really cool, And so that kind of planted the seed. I didn't get a chance to really start pursuing it until I don't know if you remember in 2017 Trump had this big trade war with China and all that, and so what happened was, and this is I think what people don't understand about tariffs is he put a tariff on stainless steel coming from China. Most of the brewing tanks came from China. We don't do a lot of steel in the States anymore. We just don't. We sold all those assets off years ago. And so when those tariffs went on to stainless steel coming from China, the cost of brewery equipment, tanks, brew houses, mash tuns, boil kettles, all that stuff, kegs, doubled overnight. I mean, just doubled. And so, working for Chillertron, it was like we would get 20 or 30 new breweries calling us every month, just like, hey, I need a system to control this stuff. Can you guys send me a quote? And so, to be honest, once we got the marketing and everything all set up, I didn't have to do a lot. I just answered the phone and did estimates, and it was like, this is great, right? Made commission, loved it. But then as soon as that tariff hit, the price of tanks doubled, and the new brewery openings went from like, hey, we get 30 calls a month to like maybe like 1, 2. And so we, and the guy I was working for was amazing. I love him to death. He kept everybody on the payroll, pushed it for another 6 months, even though there was really nothing coming in. In 2019, towards the end of 2019, he just was like, I just can't afford to pay you guys anymore. I'm going to, worry less about new stuff and just shift to more of a model where I'm just supporting the installations we already have out there in different breweries. And so, we had to figure out something to do again. So I went back to school. Again, this time I finished. Not just finished, but honor society.
There you go.
And this time I got a degree in photography at Miracosta College here in San Diego and Oceanside. So I thought this is something that I'm kind of good at. At the time, I was kind of my wife's friend's unofficial photographer. So I was doing a lot of that, and I thought, well, here's another cool hobby I can ruin by making it into a business. And so that's and that's what I did.
Boom. There it is.
The truth of anything is you can be passionate, you can really enjoy whatever it is that you do and everything, but like sooner or later, everything fades. Relationships, passions, hobbies, things that you love, your favorite movie, whatever it is, sooner or later, your favorite food, sooner or later you get sick of it, right? And it's having a business is no different. You could be super passionate about something, and I love it. After doing it for 5 years for work and, having to appease other people with it, whether that be people drinking your beer and complaining about it or, having to make a million edits for a video for a stubborn customer, it's work, right? It gets old.
Yeah. Well, that's life, though, right? I mean, you're constantly in search of, what makes me happy, what makes me enjoy getting through a day, and then also in addition to that, what pays my bills. Like, we're not all born with a silver spoon, and we can't just live a life that we want just without having any worry about cash flow. But it shows that your entrepreneur spirit started with you on the boat, filming guys making songs.
Sure.
And when you were 20 years old, fast forwarding to today at Maxlux Media, you're editing films, you're shooting amazing videos for Miracosta College. You showed us one of your video clips that you guys produced for their commercial. Like, I mean, you're doing some really, really awesome things. Your podcast studio obviously is fantastic. Episode 27 here with us, but you've got a number of different podcast folks who run shows here out of your space. You know, what do you see this continuing to evolve into for you? Is this more of a hobby? And you think you're going to have some longevity here with this?
Yeah. So, you know, I think that, you know, being in video production, it's like any other kind of career you have where you're trying to like move up and move up and move up. And so for us, it's, you know, moving up like internally is building a better team, and shout out to my amazing cinematographer, Daniel Rigo. Guy's amazing.
Daniel, yeah.
It's building a team, but then it's also building your client base. And how do you get more money in video production? You get bigger clients, right? That have much bigger budgets and that are willing to do all the bells and whistles. So I can, you know, hire more people for a job. So I can, you know, rent really cool equipment and camera jibs and make all kinds of really cool stuff that maybe, you know, I couldn't afford to do for a smaller client that's only got a, you know, $3,000 or $5,000 budget or something. You know, but it's like anything else. You have to work up and work into, you know, being exposed to those brands, and they have a lot of them have a you know, certain way they go about procuring this kind of stuff. And it's really still very much a like you got to know people business, which is why all the networking is so important. And you know, in addition to NC&G, which has been great, you know, I'm also in 3 chambers of commerce and San Diego Media Pros, and every other organization that I think is going to, you know, give us an opportunity to really grow, meet the right kind of people, meet the right kind of clients, and it's still tough. You know, even, you know, you think Carlsbad Chamber, oh, there's a lot of big businesses in Carlsbad. Do they come to the Chamber of Commerce meetings? You know, but you might find somebody that's a contractor of theirs that's like maybe doing marketing or something. And they're like, oh, I got this big client. Glad I met you. You know, we need video production. Let's talk. And, you know, you mentioned Miracosta College. That came through, like, I met one of their, I'm an alumni, but above and beyond that, I met one of their folks at a Chamber of Commerce thing. She said, hey, we're doing this career day thing. Can you mind coming in and talking to the kids that want to get into video or film about, you know, cameras and how to get into the business and things like that. And so I did that. You know, I just happened to meet their guy from their public information office that was there, and he says, look, you're an alumni, this would be great, like, let's try to do some stuff together and see how it works. And that turned into, like, they just keep coming up with more and more stuff for us to do, which is great.
Oh, yeah, perpetual.
But it is, you got to build your network, you got to build your trust, you got to build your brand, and it takes time, you know? I mean, I think that first year we made about $26,000 or something. It was rough.
Yeah.
You know, it paid for itself almost. That was about it. But by year 2, 3, 4, you know, we're killing it. You know, we're doing really well. I haven't had to worry about whether I'm going to be able to pay myself in a long time.
A lot different than the brewery.
Yeah, a lot different than the brewery. The brewery was just invest, work till you're like literally at plantar fasciitis. I ended up in the urgent care thing and I was having a heart attack. They're like, no, this is what a panic attack feels like. Sorry, man. I was like, but. And they're like, no, it's a panic attack.
Yeah.
So, out of curiosity, I mean, I don't know a ton about the video production world, but to me, it's not like it's feast or famine. It's more like it's dependent on businesses wanting to grow and evolve and market themselves. Now, how do you, as a video production, like obviously you're networking extremely well. You're a likable guy sometimes. You're always the Boyfish one or NC&G networking groups, and it's great because I laugh like every single Thursday that you're there, so it's great. But, you know, ultimately, how do you make sure that your business survives when there's, and this is probably useful for a lot of people to know, like, when there's downturns that you've seen before, whether it was, you know, with the tariffs or whether the brewery, like how do you make sure that your business stays afloat even, you know, as things might change in the industry over the next year or two?
And, you know, the older that we get, the more like kind of stuck in our ways we get, right? And like I've developed a system, this is my system, you know, this is how I do things, this is how I want to do things, and it's hard to change, but you have to be prepared to, right? You have to be ready to be nimble. If the industry changes, if you don't change, you get left behind, you know? And as much as I want to gripe about things like AI and how I think it's like taking jobs, and is it just making my life easier, or is it doing things that I used to spend a lot of time doing and I'm just annoyed because now the AI is as good as I am? I don't know. But yeah, you always have to look towards the future, and sometimes you just have to, you know, completely reinvent yourself. Or there's been a few times where I've just had to give up and be like, okay, this is as far as I'm going to go in this particular vehicle, whether, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, and with the brewery, that was, you know, I was kind of done with it, but that had a lot to do with my partners at the time too.
Sure.
But with Maxlux, you know, I think that we're going to be, you know, as long as there isn't like another 2008 situation where the whole bottom just falls out and everybody's like, sorry, we don't have any budget for anything. There's going to be, there's always going to be a market for what we do.
Yeah.
Some of the ways that we are trying to hedge against that is to expand the kind of clients that we support. And so that's why things like Maricosta College and other educational and government bodies that we work for are so important, because when companies stop spending money, the government ramps up, right? What happened during COVID? Companies stopped spending money, they closed down, they didn't know what they were going to do. And what did the government do? It started funneling money into all sorts of stuff. That's what kept the economy going during COVID. And, you know, there were side effects of that. Some of the inflation and stuff, I'm sure, has to do a lot with, you know, them dumping money into the economy like that. But the flip side of it is that a lot of Europe and a lot of other countries are still in a recession, and we didn't have a recession. We had a little bit of inflation. It felt terrible, and it still does, because it's in, you know, it hits the most important segments first, you know, housing prices, food, fuel. You can still get a cheap TV for next to nothing from China.
Yeah, exactly.
But the stuff that you really need to survive,
Your
you know, keeping a
everyday
roof over
goods,
are the things that got really expensive. But, you know, again, that's, you know, the government will start spending whenever the economy goes down. So if you have government clients, you're in a pretty good position. So diversifying your clients, I guess, that's a really roundabout way to answer your question. But diversify your client base, look into, you know, new things, make sure you're staying nimble, and, you know, kind of keep your finger on the pulse of what's coming down the pike.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Being an expert in your industry and in the news in the industry.
And don't be afraid to reinvent yourself too. I mean, right? I mean, we just heard from Mark on our last episode. He's like, hey man, the things weren't working out doing mortgages, and so you know, decided to try something new, and he just happened to hit on something that everybody needs that is really working out for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, he looks good in that T-shirt. Best body.
Yeah, you know, that's part of really, you know, the spirit of an entrepreneur is being able to be nimble, being able to pivot, being able to invest your time and energy in becoming a pro and learning new things to continue to expand and develop your hobbies that turn into your businesses, that turn into your passions, right? And I think as you've built Maxlux Media and you know, I think if you're out there and you're a small business owner or a major corporation, you need content. Like you're the audience, the consumer is thriving on the content that's created to drive business to you. And so if you're a small business owner and you're looking to grow your business and you have a website, if your website doesn't have video content on it, you're losing. You're losing the race, you're losing the game, you're losing the consumer. And you really need to be looking to give Rob a call and hire Maxlux to shoot any sort of video content, whether you're a production company, you're producing something, you're making something, get some behind the scenes footage, whether you're forward facing to the consumers and the public, and you want to video record yourself and give your speeches and get client testimonials. Like, those are all things that Maxlux can do to support you, including drone footage. Mm-hmm. I know you guys are doing drone camera work and stuff too, right? these are some of the things that you ought to be thinking about for your business, and Maxlux and Rob and his team have got it nailed. Rob, how do people find you?
So our website is maxluxmedia.com. We're on Instagram at Maxlux Media. And you can just look us up on Google. We've got a ton of 5-star reviews, very happy clients.
Yeah,
absolutely.
As a personal testimonial, I mean, I didn't use Rob and Maxlux so much for my own business yet. Got to just talk about that later. But I was selling a van, and I was struggling. And it took me way longer to list it, sell it, because my photos were terrible, my video was terrible. Hired Rob, got it done. It was like one morning, took an hour, got all the stuff done, listed that with all the new photos, and it sold within a week. So, I mean, anything. If you need media, I mean, obviously you don't want to do all the side jobs, but it's just a testimonial of like, hey, if you're looking to add content to your business, like you got to look at Maxlux for sure.
Right. Oh man, I appreciate that, and I'm glad we could help you sell that van. Yeah. That was a cool thing. I'm kind of sad you had to let it go. And I don't get to make fun of you because it's not your house anymore.
She'll come back.
True home on wheels.
But the truth is, I think in that is that like people want to buy from you because of who you are, right? They want to feel like they know you and there's some trust there. And if you cannot meet them and create that trust in person, then the next best thing to do that, to show a little of your personality, is video.
Yeah. Yep. And literally the guy said that he watched the video and that was a big reason he purchased the van. So.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Just add on top. Testimonial.
There you go. Well, that's wrapping up here on episode 27 of North Coast Coffee Chats. Again, we are all members of NCNG, North Coast Networking Group. We are a business-minded entrepreneur group of professionals who meet every Thursday morning for breakfast at Beach Plum Kitchen here in Carlsbad. We meet from 7 a.m. till 8:30. We create introductions, we build relationships, we create referrals. For the last couple of years, we're generating over $1 million worth of business amongst referrals and the members of our group. We're about 30 members deep. If you're a small business owner and you're looking to try to grow your business and you need to surround yourself with great like-minded people, check us out at www.northcoastnetworkinggroup.com and hit us up. Come check us out on a Thursday morning. That'll put a wrap on this 27th episode of North Coast Coffee Chats.
And hey, thank you to Maxlux Media for sponsoring this podcast.
Absolutely. Rob, thank you for that great cup of coffee. We didn't even talk about your favorite coffee.
Stater Brothers Donut Shop, all the way.
The home brews.
It does hit every time we do this podcast.
This is a good one. Thank you, brother.
Cheers,
Great
guys.
episode.